All right, thank you guys. Welcome to our Major League Baseball video here today. For Wednesday, June 9th, my name is Brock Page and I do sports picks for free right here on YouTube. And if you want to see which one of these YouTube picks I'm actually betting on personally here today, don't forget to check me out on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage. And speaking of Patreon, we are coming fresh off our second straight winning day in a row. But most importantly, we improved to 7-0 in our last 7 NBA tier package picks on that Patreon page. And the good news is this, we have another NBA tier package pick going off here this evening. We're going to try to keep this ball rolling, and if you want to access tonight's NBA tier package pick, well, the link for that pick is in the description section below. We're also 2-0 in our last couple of board member tier package picks on that Patreon page as well. And board members get access to every single premium pick I give out on Patreon through the end of June. Now we currently have over 1,000 members who are signed up and active on that site. And if you want to join those folks and get in on the action, link for that page is in the description section below. And once again, that's patreon.com/BrockPage. And with that, guys, we got ourselves a full slate of games today. Every team's playing, although we're going to have to skip the earlier games. We're covering 13 contests with the 2 earlier games we are omitting from the video. But let's go ahead and start with the Cubs taking on the Padres, 4:10 p.m. Eastern first pitch. The San Diego Padres are minus 220 with a total at 8 juice to the under. Chicago's plus $1.90 for some money line cash. And if you like them on the run line, they're minus 105, catching the 1.5. Jake Arrieta for Chicago, Yu Darvish for San Diego. And as good as Darvish has been, the Padres have actually lost 3 out of their last 4 ball games. And that includes a 7-1 embarrassment just yesterday to Chicago. San Diego's also lost 7 out of their last 10 ball games as well. And they have a losing record against the run line when facing the National League. Now, in addition to that, San Diego, has successfully cashed in on the run line in only 13 out of 31 home games against the National League as well. And that's good for only 41% in that particular category. They're taking on a Chicago club who won 2 out of their last 3. And that includes a 4-3 victory over the first place Giants in the NL West. This Cubs pitching staff is also in the top 10 in road strikeouts, top 10 in fewest runs allowed. And despite a few rough starts for Jake Arrieta, the righty still got himself 5 wins on the season, and he struck out 42 batters. Now Chicago is currently just a half a game back of first place in the NL Central. When it comes to the total on this one, 4 out of Chicago's last 6 road games got over the number. Meanwhile, the Padres went 4-2 to the over in their last 6 home games themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Chicago Cubs plus 1.5 and the over 8 runs. Next contest, Dodgers Pirates, 7:05 Eastern Standard Time. The LA Dodgers are minus 175 with the total at 9 juice to the under. Tony Gonsolin for Los Angeles, Tyler Anderson for Pittsburgh. Now, Anderson's just 3-5 thus far in the season with a 4.67 ERA. Pittsburgh has lost their last 2 straight, and they also dropped 5 out of their last 8. The Pirates are currently 13 games below 500, and they find themselves in last place in the NL Central. They also rank dead last in the majors in scoring on average per contest. The Pirates are only putting 3.5 runners across the plate a game. They're taking on a Dodger club who's 10 games above 500, and they also have a winning road record. Now, this Dodger lineup currently leads the majors in walks at the plate. They're also in the top 3 in scoring on average per contest. Max Muncy leads the team in homers with 13 of them. He's also been walked 45 times already. Meanwhile, Chris Taylor has 33 RBI thus far in the season, 19 total extra base hits for Taylor. Now, total-wise, Los Angeles is 70% to the over in their last 10 ball games. 12-9 to the over in their road games against the National League. Meanwhile, the Pirates have gone 60% to the over in their last 10 themselves. I'm going to lean toward the LA Dodgers minus 175 and the over 9 runs. Next matchup, Braves versus the Phillies, 7:05 Eastern Standard Time. The Philadelphia Phillies are minus 135, totals 9. Zach Eflin for the Titans, Tucker Davidson for Atlanta. Davidson's got himself a 2.31 ERA through nearly 12 innings of work this season. He also comes into today's start with a 1.03 whip. The Braves have won 4 out of their last 5 ball games, and that includes a 9-5 victory over the Phillies just yesterday. This Braves lineup is in the top 5 in the league in scoring on average per contest. Ronald Acuna has hit 18 home runs already, along with 38 RBI. The outfielder is currently tied for the league lead in home runs. And he also finds himself in the top 5 in the majors in OPS. He's actually got an OPS of 1.016. Meanwhile, Austin Riley's batting .313, which is in the top 10 in the majors as well. The third baseman has hit 11 homers and knocked in 27 as well. Now they're taking on a Phillies team who strikes out an awful lot at the plate. The Phils are fanning over 10 times a game at Citizens Bank Park, and they rank in the bottom 3 in the league in home strikeouts. The Phillies are currently 3 games below 500. They rank in the bottom 10 in the majors in hits allowed per contest. Now Zach Eflin is taking the mound here today. He's just 2-5 thus far in this season, 4.10 ERA for the righty. When it comes to the total in this one, the Phillies saw 6 out of their last 10 outings stay under the total of 9 runs. Meanwhile, 7 out of Atlanta's last 11 divisional games on the road stayed under the posted number themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Atlanta Braves plus 1.5 in the under 9 runs. Next contest, it is going to be Mets versus the Orioles, 7:05 Eastern first pitch. The New York Mets are minus 130, numbers 9.5. Taijuan Walker for New York, Matt Harvey for Baltimore. As good as the O's looked yesterday, Matt Harvey comes into today's start with a 3-6 record and a 6.62 ERA. The righty's also got himself a 1.61 whip. And the Orioles still have the fewest wins in all of the American League. This Baltimore pitching staff is in the bottom 3 in the league in runs allowed at home. They're also in the bottom 3 in hits allowed at home as well. And speaking of home, Baltimore has gotten the W in only 11 out of 31 contests at Camden Yards. The O's are taking on a first-place Mets club who's still been victorious in 6 out of their last 10. Now, this New York pitching staff is in the top 3 in fewest hits allowed per contest, and they give up only 3.6 runs a game. Taijuan Walker is 4-2 with a 2.17 ERA and a 1.06 whip. When it comes to the total on this one, New York's gone 20-13 to the over when traveling, 80% to the over in their last 10 at any location. Meanwhile, the Orioles saw 5 out of their last 8 contests against the National League get over the total themselves. I'm going to lean toward the New York Mets minus 130 in the over 9.5. Next ball game, Brewers, Reds, 7:10 Eastern start time. Both teams are minus $1.10, pretty much a coin flip right now. Totals 10, juice to the under. Brett Anderson for Milwaukee, Vlad Gutierrez for Cincinnati. Now the Reds have won just 9 out of 22 home games against National League competition. This Reds pitching staff gives up more runs than any other team in the majors. They also walk more batters on their home field than any other team in the majors as well. Since he's 5 games behind the first place Brewers in the division. And speaking of Milwaukee, they've been red hot as of late. Currently on a 5-game winning streak, 10-1 straight up in their last 11. These Brewers pitchers allow the fewest road hits in the bigs. They also strike out more batters on the road than any other team. Now this Milwaukee Brewer ball club here, they allow only 3.3 runs a game as the away team. When it comes to the total on this one, Milwaukee's gone 15-7 to the under in their last 22 divisional games. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward the Milwaukee Brewers minus $1.10 in the under 10 runs. Next contest, Nationals, Rays, 7:10 p.m. East. The Tampa Bay Rays are minus 160 at home, number 7.5. Shane McClanahan for Tampa Bay, Patrick Corbin for Washington. Now Corbin's just 3-5 on the season with a 6.28 ERA and a 1.52 WHIP. This Washington team has lost 7 out of their last 10 ball games. They picked up the W in only 11 out of 29 road games. This Washington lineup is in the bottom 5 in scoring on average per contest. The Nats are putting only 3.7 runners across the plate a game. They're taking on a first-place Rays club who's 16 games above 500 already. Tampa's also on a 3-game winning streak and got the W in 9 out of their last dozen. This Tampa Bay pitching staff is in the top 10 in home strikeouts, and they give up only 3.1 runs a game at the Trop. Shane McClanahan's 2-1 thus far in the season, with 38 strikeouts and just over 30 innings of work. When it comes to the total on this one, Tampa Bay 16-13 to the under on their home field, 70% to the under in their last 10 meetings with Washington. Meanwhile, the Nats have gone 19-10 to the under when they travel, 39-18 to the under overall for the year. I'm going to lean toward the Tampa Bay Rays minus 160 and the under 7.5. Next contest, Rockies versus the Marlins, 7:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now this game's currently off the board, and we have no confirmed starter yet for the Marlins. Meanwhile, on the other side of things, Austin Gomer is slated on the bump for Colorado. But I'll tell you this much, regardless of who starts for the Fish, we're still looking at a Colorado team who's setting records for all the wrong reasons. The Rockies have been victorious in only 4 out of 27 road games this season, and they score only 2.4 runs per contest when they travel. Now the Rockies are also dead last in road hits at the plate, and their pitching staff is dead last in striking batters out away from home. Now Austin Gomer is just 4-5 thus far in the season, 4.12 ERA and 23 walks for the lefty. They're taking on a Marlins club who still has a winning home record despite their recent struggles. And I'll tell you what, whoever the Marlins end up putting on the mound here today, Miami's in the top 3 in the league in fewest hits allowed at home. They're giving up just 3.2 runs a game at Lone Depot Park. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward the Miami Marlins winning this one outright for some money line cash. And with that, we're going to jump into our next contest here. Still in that 7 o'clock slate, Mariners versus the Tigers, 7:10 p.m. Eastern start time. The Detroit Tigers are minus 135, totals 9 flat. Casey Mize for Detroit, Chris Flexen for Seattle. Now Flexen's 5-3 on the year thus far with 33 strikeouts. The Mariners have also got themselves a winning record against the American League. And they held the Tigers to just 3.6 runs a game in their last 10 meetings together. And speaking of Detroit, they're still 10 games below 500. They also have a losing record at Comerica Park. This Rangers lineup is in the bottom 3 in scoring on average per contest. And they're also striking out 10.2 times a game. Detroit's currently 12 games back of Chicago in their division. And their pitchers are in the bottom 10 in strikeouts. Now Casey Mize comes into today's contest with a 3-4 record and 20 walks. When it comes to the total in this one, the Tigers are 21-8 to the under on their home field, 38-22 to the under for the entire season. Meanwhile, the Mariners saw 3 out of their last 5 road games stay under the line themselves, 60% to the under in their last 10 at any location. I'm going to lean toward the Seattle Mariners plus 1.5 and the under 9 runs. Next matchup, it is going to be in the American League. I'm talking about the Astros versus the Red Sox, 7:10 p.m. Eastern first pitch. The Boston Red Sox are minus 145, numbers 10. Nathan Eovaldi for the Bo Sox, Jake Odorizzi for Houston. Now, I'll tell you what, Odorizzi's had a real rough go of things so far. 0-3 record with a 7.16 ERA. This Astros pitching staff is also in the bottom 10 in the league and walks allowed on the road. Now they're taking on a Boston club who's won 5 out of their last 6 ball games themselves. And they rank in the top 3 in hits. Rafael Devers leads the club in homers with 15 of them. He's also leading the majors in RBI with 48. Meanwhile, Xander Bogaerts is batting .321. He's in the top 10 in the majors in that particular stat. Now, the shortstop has knocked in 36 runners, and he ranks in the top 20 in the league in OPS as well. His Boston lineup's in the top 10 in the league in scoring on average per contest. And speaking of the scoring in this one, when it comes to the number, Boston is 14-12 to the over against American League competition at Fenway. Meanwhile, Houston is 17-10 to the over when they bat first. I'm going to lean toward the Boston Red Sox, -145 in the over 10 runs. Next contest, getting into that 8 o'clock slate. I'm talking about the Blue Jays versus the White Sox, 8:10 p.m. East. The Chicago White Sox are -160, totals 8. Lance Lynn for Chicago, Alek Manoah for Toronto. And the Blue Jays are on a 2-game losing streak, and they also lost 3 out of their last 4. And of course, that includes a 6-1 loss to Chicago just yesterday. The Blue Jays have really struggled against American League competition this season. They're just 19-26 straight up against their fellow American Leaguers, and they're in the bottom 10 in offensive walks on the road. They're taking on a Chicago club who's got the most home runs. The most home wins in the majors. The Sox are currently 24-10 at Guaranteed Rate Field, and they rank in the top 3 in scoring. Jose Abreu leads the club in homers and RBI. The first baseman has hit 11 home runs and ranks in the top 5 in the majors with 46 RBI. Meanwhile, Nick Madrigal is in the top 15 in the league in batting average. The infielder's hitting .305 thus far in the year. And if for some reason the bats don't come alive here today, they probably won't need too many runs to get the W, because Lance Lynn is coming into today's start with a 7-1 record and a 1.23 ERA. Now, the righty's averaging over a strikeout an inning, and he comes into today's contest with a .92 whip. Now, Chicago is striking out 10.2 batters a game at home. When it comes to the number in this one, Chicago's 22-12 to the under at Guaranteed Rate Field, 6-1 to the under in their last 7 home games as well. Meanwhile, Toronto's gone 19-13 to the under as the road team themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Chicago White Sox -160 in the under 8 runs. Next ball game, Yankees versus the Twins, 8:10 p.m. Eastern start time. The New York Yankees are -185, total 7.5, juice to the under. Garrett Cole for New York, Randy Dobnak for Minnesota. Now, Dobnak's just 1-5 with a 6.19 ERA and a 1.44 whip. The last place Twins are a dozen games below 500. And they have the 3rd fewest wins in the American League. The Twins have been victorious in only 12 out of 30 home games. They successfully cashed in on the run line in just 26% of those home contests. Minnesota's in the bottom 5 in striking batters out, bottom 3 in runs allowed. Now they're taking on a Yankee club who's got a good one in Garrett Cole on the bump here today. The righty's gone 6-3 with 104 big strikeouts. Cole's also got himself an impressive 2.26 ERA, along with a stingy .87 whip. The Yankees pitchers lead the majors in fewest walks allowed on the road. They're also giving up just 3.8 runs a game when they travel. Now, total-wise, 6 out of New York's last 9 ball games did get over the total of 7.5 runs. They also saw 8 out of their last 10 meetings with Minnesota get over the line. Meanwhile, Minnesota's 19-11 to the over on their home field, 41-19 to the over for the entire season. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward the New York Yankees -185 and the over 7.5. Next matchup, Indians versus the Cards, 8:15 Eastern start time. St. Louis Cardinals are -130, the total at 8 flat. Adam Wainwright for St. Louis, Jean Mejia for Cleveland. Now, Mejia's only pitched 8 innings this season, but he's yet to give up an earned run. He's officially 1-0 on the year with a .63 whip. Now, the Indians have been pretty good on the road this season, 18-14 straight up when they travel. top 3 in striking batters out on the road. The Indians are also in the top 10 in fewest hits allowed on the road as well. And they've gotten the W in 5 out of their last 8 ball games. Now they're taking on a Cardinals team who's been ice cold here recently. They're currently on a 6-game losing streak. They're also just 1-8 straight up in their last 9. St. Louis has lost 3 out of their last 4 against the American League. And their pitching staff walks more batters than anyone in the league. Adam Wainwright's taking the mound here tonight. Just a 3-5 record with a 4.19 ERA. Meanwhile, offensively at the plate, the Cards are scoring only 3.8 runs a game at Busch Stadium. Now, total-wise, oddly enough, 7 out of the Cardinals' last 10 ball games did get over the posted number. Meanwhile, Cleveland saw 3 out of their last 4 road games get over the line themselves. One more thing to add as well, Cleveland went 70% to the over in their last 10 ball games at any location. I'm going to lean toward the underdog Cleveland Indians plus $1.10 and the over 8 flat. With that, we're going to jump into our next and final matchup of the show. It is going to be Royals versus the Angels, 9:38 Eastern Standard Time. The LA Angels are minus 155, totals 9. Griffin Canning for Los Angeles, Brad Keller for Kansas City. Now Keller's 6-4 thus far in the season with 51 strikeouts. Despite a recent stroke of bad luck, the Royals have still won 5 out of their last 9 ball games, and they have a winning record against the number when they travel. Kansas City ranks in the top 3 in fewest hits allowed. They're also in the top 10 in road strikeouts. They're taking on an Angels club who's still 3 games below 500. They cashed in on the run line in only 42% of their home games. The Angels are in the bottom 5 in runs allowed, bottom 3 in walks allowed at home. Griffin Canning comes into today's start with a 5.82 ERA and a 1.50 whip. When it comes to the total on this one, Los Angeles has gone 23-10 to the over on their home field, 60% to the over in their last 10 meetings with Kansas City. I'm going to lean toward the Kansas City Royals plus 1.5 and the over 9 runs. With that, guys, now it's time for our quick pick recap, powered to you by my Patreon website. I like the Chicago Cubs plus 1.5 over 8 runs. LA Dodgers minus 175 over 9. Atlanta plus 1.5 under 9 runs. New York Mets minus 130 over 9.5. Milwaukee Brewers minus 110 under 10 runs. Tampa Bay minus $1.60 under 7.5. Miami winning that one outright for some money line cash. I also like Seattle plus 1.5 in the under 9 runs. Give me Boston minus 145 over 10 runs. Chicago White Sox minus $1.60 under 8. New York Yankees minus 185 over 7.5. Cleveland Indians plus $1.10 over 8 runs. Before I give you my next and final free pick for the video, one final reminder that we are 7-0 in our last 7 NBA tier package picks on my Patreon website. We're also 2-0 in our last couple of board member tier package picks on that Patreon page as well. I'm going to lean toward the Kansas City Royals plus 1.5 and the over 9 runs. And with that, guys, that's going to do it for me. Gotta thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. I really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, happy Wednesday to you. Happy hump day to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.